Good evening, everyone. I would like to call the Reynoldsburg City Council meeting of February 14th to order. The time is now 6:31. I'm Council President Angie Jenkins, and welcome to Council Chambers. At this time, we'll have the invocation given by Councilmember Baker. Following the invocation, please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please all bow our heads. Dear Father God, we come to you today as we're about to do the work of our fellow citizens, our community, and hoping that we make the wise decisions to better our community. And Father God, I pray that you help those who are in need, especially in these winter months, and pray for those who has been affected by COVID, whether it's been mentally or physically. And I pray that you lift us all up in your glory and your honor. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Pecoro?
Here.
Councilmember Lawson Rowe?
Here.
Councilmember Cotner?
Here.
Councilmember Baker?
Here.
Councilmember Bryant? Councilmember Strickland?
Present.
Councilmember Salvati?
Here.
President Jenkins?
Here. Next, we'll have the approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
No, you, hang on. Yes, Mayor, President Jenkins, the pay to stay ordinance is being removed from the Public Safety and Laws Committee and from the consent agenda for first read, item 12.2.
Thank you. Next, we have approval of minutes. Approval of City Council regular meeting minutes of January 24th, 2022. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to these minutes? Seeing none, the minutes stand approved as submitted. Next, we have approval of City Council special meeting minutes of January 22nd, 2022. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to these minutes? Seeing none, the minutes stand approved as submitted. Approval of the City Council special meeting minutes of January 31st, 2022. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to these minutes? Seeing none, the minutes stand approved as submitted. Next, we have community comments. The community comments portion of the meeting is an opportunity for citizens to address council. Citizens may bring matters to the attention of City Council or discuss items on the agenda. Before addressing City Council, members of the public are asked to complete a speaker's form and give it to the clerk. The council president will invite speakers to step to the microphone, give their name and address. All remarks should be addressed to council as a whole and not exceed 3 minutes. Are there any comments from the community?
Madam President, I did not receive any speaker forms this evening, nor any emails.
Thank you. Did the clerk receive any other comments in any other form? Thank you. Are there any comments from council? Councilmember Savati?
Yeah, I just want to make a brief comment and maybe a small request. Last weekend, I did my yearly duty of doing my taxes, with the exception so far of doing the local RETA taxes, which I'll be honest with you, in all the years I've lived in Reynoldsburg, I've never had a particular issue with RETA at all. But I'm also quite a presence on Facebook every year, and I know that the local taxes, and specifically RETA, are a confusion for a lot of people that move to Reynoldsburg, and there are some issues every year that a lot of people express. So I guess what I wanted to do, I know when I was a new council member, I was given a little background on RETA and why it is that we have RETA and whatnot. So I was curious, and this, I guess, request is for the auditor and possibly the auditor department, if you would be willing to, not next week, but maybe sometime in March, have you or one of your, somebody from the auditor's department give a small presentation here at council and kind of explain, go on record so that people can access that on Facebook, go on record as to why it is we use RETA, what the financial advantage or disadvantage or whatnot is of that. It would serve as a way to, get rid of some of the confusion and a nice reminder to people before April, whatever 18th it is this year, that they got to do them. If you're willing to do that, we can talk about it or whatnot, but I know you have at least some stuff already sort of, because you presented it to us a couple years ago. I don't know if that needs updated or whatnot, but so that would be my small request, sometime in March maybe, if you'd be willing. That's all.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments from council?
Yes, Madam President.
Councilwoman Strickland, please.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Thank you, also, Council Member Savati, bringing that issue up. I know most recently here, people in my constituents are asking about Rita and how we can maybe start looking outside of other options, basically. I am going to ask the auditor to come forward and just talk about why we are where we are today with Rita, and hopefully that will answer some of the questions. And I totally agree with you that we still need to have the auditor come back and get some additional information. But while we're here now, if we can have the auditor come forward and just give a brief statement regarding where we are today.
President Jenkins, members of council, thank you for the heads up and the presentation. Rita collects taxes for all the municipalities in central Ohio except Worthington. So every other community in central Ohio uses Rita. They band together. They have about 300 different municipalities they collect for. They collect for our JEDs. It's the most economical way to do it, is in a nutshell. I think Councilman Pacquiao was even presented with forms that were translated into Bhutanese or Nepali.
So Nepali, thank you for doing that. That's very helpful. I read through and it's very well done. Thank you for that.
The city has a mandatory filing, and there's a one-page form for our seniors that are retired to fill out, and that's all they have to do forever. The most of the problems that I see are from people not filing. A lot of times they go to H&R Block and they'll find their paperwork in the back of their folder that it's never been sent in. I use TurboTax. TurboTax doesn't work. The best way to do this is to do it right on Rita's website. But I'll be glad to put together a presentation of the economics around it. But know that every single municipality uses Rita except Columbus and Worthington, New Albany, Upper Arlington, all of them. Everybody uses Rita.
But how does Worthington not, or how do they not
I don't
use
know
it?
their specifics, but I'll look into it.
Okay, thank you. And then the age for the seniors, that you mentioned seniors only use one page, if you can find the age for
I'll get
that.
the exact answer.
Okay,
But I think the better question is, why does everyone else use it?
thank you.
You're welcome. Also, if you have any questions specifically, you can always call our tax administrator or call me directly.
And what is her name, please?
That's Laura Gischel.
Okay, I knew her name, but I just wanted to make sure everyone else knew her name if they wanted to reach out to her. Thank
I do
you.
have a quick question, because it was mentioned a while ago, and I was kind of disgusted when I heard the answer was, so with Rita, the city of Reynoldsburg pays a percentage to Rita, correct?
Correct.
But then when the individual file, whether it's taxes or school taxes, whatever, with Rita, we have to pay to use their services too, is that correct?
No.
Okay.
They do not collect school taxes.
No. I
And we
mean,
don't-
when
the
you,
collection
when you
comes
file
with-
your, I'm sorry, when you file your taxes, individually, when I go and put my check in the mail, or if I use their online system, I guess is a better example, I have to pay a fee to use their online system to file, correct?
I did not, and I'm not aware of that.
Okay, because do we use Rita when we collect money from like speeding tickets and all that, when we go over to the
No.
clerk's office? That's a different system?
Certain.
Okay. I was just wondering, that was a separate question, I guess.
One of the biggest advantages of all the communities using Rita is they're tied into the IRS. And that's one of the biggest advantages that all of us, all these communities all throughout Ohio have in common. And with expenses like health care, payroll, and everything going up, our expenses has not increased over 2% since before I've been here. And every year, we get a true-up payment back from them. So if we can find a way to do this better than 2%, we'll explore it. Or if you ask me to do so. One of the best examples when we're talking about taxes is for people to maybe present yours from council and bring them out and say, this is what I've done, and show people how easy it is. Because most of the errors that I see are simple errors, not filing, not knowing that they need to file. And that's something that we can all work on together with social media and getting people to know what their responsibilities are. But it's a Reynoldsburg tax. It's not collected for any other agency. It's what puts our police officers in the cars and provides every city service that we have. But I'll be glad to present to you in March.
So who collects the school tax then? Is it Rita, or do they have
State
some?
of Ohio.
Okay. I guess I should have known that. I just write the check, put it in the mail, and be done with it. I don't really pay attention. So, okay.
I received $3 back from that just this past week.
Well, that's more than I've gotten in the past few years, so.
Any other
I do think it's worth repeating 10 times that I had this happen to me last year. I know lots of people have had it happen to them. Almost every tax filing system out there, whether it be Tax Act or TurboTax or, Liberty Tax or whatnot, they really, really, really make you feel like when you file, you paid your RETA, and you didn't. I mean, in 99% of the cases, you didn't unless you went to Rita's website. But I mean, they put you put all the information in there, and they kind of give you the indication that, well, especially when you don't know anything, they print out the Rita form, and you're like, oh, good, done. You didn't do anything with Rita. I don't know why there's that disconnect. Why they seem to try and bluff you into thinking you filed your Rita, but I tell people on Facebook all the time, and you just said it, I'm going to say it again, go to Rita's website. File it on Rita's website. That's the only way you know you filed with Rita.
I think you can print a copy of it if you do it yourself.
Oh, you can mail it in, yeah, I'm
Or
sorry.
mail it
But
in, yes.
I forget that you can actually use a stamp and do things.
You can also go to their office due to COVID and drop it off to someone and they will prepare everything for you. You can go up there and just hand them your W-9s or W-2s.
I just think it's kind of, at least when I filed last year, every indication was I had done it, and I hadn't.
Because you went through a different service? Or
I used I think it's through Liberty Tax, but I've heard people use TurboTax and whatnot, and it gives you the feel that you did it. But
Well, looking back on the comments on social media, and I do glean them, compared to the number of actual returns that we received with 0 issues, they're very small.
yeah, I would imagine.
Well, if there's any other questions, please call me during the week at any time, and I will have our tax administrator put together a presentation for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other comments from council? Council Member Meredith Lawson Rowe?
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to share, I received an email from Miss April Darling, and she has invited us along. She's invited us, let me start all over. Whew. Long day. April Darling and the Reynoldsburg Lions Club has invited the community to a food drive this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. to participate in a food drive here at City Hall. The food drive is in collaboration with the city, Reynoldsburg School District, and Impact Reynoldsburg Church. On the flyer that you may find on social media, I just want to highlight one thing. It says 1 in 7 go to bed hungry in Ohio every night. 1 in 5 are children. Food banks like Heart and Helping Hands simply cannot keep up with the needs without donations from caring citizens in the community. And they ask that we be a part of the solution. So I invite all of us to participate in the upcoming food drive this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. You may drive up, drop off your donations, and go about your day. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments from council?
I'll go ahead and say this right now. Typically, I wait to the end, but I want to say this because it is something that's duly noted. Kudos to the women's the Reynoldsburg girls basketball team on their win last week, and as they prepare for the state tomorrow, I believe. I just want to give them a shout out and take it all the way.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments from council? Do we have any comments from Mayor Begany?
Just a few, Madam President. First of all, I just want to say thank you to our snow warriors that helped clean up the city of Reynoldsburg with the most recent snow slash ice event. You'll be hearing about that a little bit later this evening. Also like to thank all of you and everyone who attended the State of the City last week, talking about a lot of great things that are happening in our community. There are a couple of documents that I placed upon your desks as you came in. One is some information about the goals that have been requested or the topics from the council retreat as far as what's out there. And I kind of provided a little bit of an update for you on individual topics, and I'll update those as the months go by. You also got some information on the number of storm and sewer improvements in the city of Reynoldsburg on a very large map with pretty colors and things of that nature to kind of help get an idea of where our storm improvements are going. Also have some good news. Kind of early today, we got our first version of the community guide is going to print today, so we're going to get that probably, hopefully in the next few days, review it, and then hopefully that will be mailed out to our community members sometime within the next 2 weeks, give or take a few days. And I also like to dispel a rumor that for whatever reason, the Tomato Festival is not going to be continuing the halftime show from the Super Bowl last night. It was not in our budget, but again, that's up to you. I'm sure that there'd be plenty of optimism for even at least a portion of last night's halftime show. So thank you very much, and have a great rest of the evening.
Thank you. Next, we have a presentation by Star Consultants.
Thank you, Council President and Council. Tonight, we're going to have a presentation from STAR. I just wanted to give a little brief introduction. If you might recall, last year, early in the year, we went out with an RFP for a consultant to do an RFP for the service facilities, basically, that exist, and Parks and Rec as well. We have 2 sites that are located in the city. One is on Main Street, right behind the gas station there by the bus garage, and then the other one's off Turo. What we asked the RFP, the consultants to do, is to look at both sites and determine what would be the best use of those lands and looking at the facilities that need upgraded. Was it basically taking the sites that we had and redoing those sites, whether it was just some remodeling or completely demoing and rebuilding on those sites, or possibly even consolidating them to one site if we had the room? I think most of you have been out to the site. I think when I came on board the mayor, it was one of my tasks given to me was looking at this. I've done 2 service facilities in my life. I built the one in New Albany that they have now and the one that we have in Bexley as well. It's a pretty laborious process, but given current EPA standards and mandates that are out there, as well as building codes, if you're out there, you obviously know that the buildings that we have out there do not meet any of those, really. They were built in, the 70s, maybe mid to late 70s, if not earlier. The water plant was obviously considerably earlier than that. So once again, it's about just providing room for growth as well, but also providing a safe work environment for the employees that work out there. When I came on board, I did find some old documents, actually. This was one of the highest priorities in the city's master plan, I think it was 10 years ago, if not longer, was to look at doing this work. And obviously, as things happened, it fell by the wayside and just did not get done. But as we continue to grow and we see development, we know there's going to be some growth needed on our staff side. Not a tremendous amount of growth, but there'll be, some additional employees that probably need to be added, as I'll talk later about the snowstorm and just the events that we went through and the amount of salt we use and the amount of time we spent on that. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Sam. From Star Consultants, he'll give you a brief overview of the report they prepared, and at the end, he'll also prepare paper copies for everybody to look through if they want to.
Thank you, William. Hi, folks. Just to follow up on what William presented, there is a printed copy of what I'm about to go through, so I'm going to stay a little higher level in the presentation and just hit the highlights, but you can certainly read all the details, and I'll have Molly pass these out after. Presentation is going to be like in booklet form, the way it was printed, so it's a little different than a typical presentation. And I have to turn it on. Again, my name's Sam. I'm with Star Consultants. We're a local architectural and engineering firm. You can click ahead. I thought I talked too loud most of the time. I hate to get in the microphone. What you'll find up front in the presentation is really a synopsis of what we went through and who was involved and the process that we went through to develop this document you're about to see. Go ahead. Of course, pretty obvious, we're in the state of Ohio, city of Reynoldsburg, and as William pointed out, we have 2 sites, and we're representing 5 of the service components for the city of Reynoldsburg, which is water and sewer, streets, stormwater, parks and rec, and maintenance for the vehicles. So we looked at both the sites, and Molly's gone off so fast for me, but that's okay. No, you're all right. So we looked at both the sites and identified the pluses and minuses for each. On your screen, you'll see 1615 Truro Avenue. One thing we noticed there is the fact that it's made up of 5 actual separate plots that make up the facility grounds. Runs along the Blacklick Creek. A lot of the facilities on the site, you can go ahead, Molly. A lot of the facilities on the site are pretty dated. We did identify each and every component and assessed each and every component. Physical structures, aggregate storage, et cetera. Some of the items that we can take with us, chemical storage, that center photograph on the top. But we did the assessment, and the only things on the site specific to Parks and Rec would be the common use of the communication tower. Beyond that, there was an aggregate storage facility. If you were to, we talked about moving it, but then you lose the maintenance and the warranties for the, bottom line is we didn't find a lot on 1615 that was worth saving for Parks and Recreation. Thank you. It works. Thank you so much. Water and sewer, we did the same assessment for all of their components on the site at 1615 Truro. They had a decent aggregate storage facility component, and they also had a fairly new jet vac truck garage you can see on the upper left of the photos, the blue building with the white doors. We did talk about would it be possible to dismantle this and or reconstruct it somewhere else. Again, yes, anything's possible, but is it cost efficient? Not so much, and you would lose the warranties on the roofing and the siding if you were to do that. We also looked at 7806 East Main Street. This site encompasses both the street department, stormwater, and the mechanics. They happen to reside right in, just north of where the schools park their buses and maintain the buses, to give you a little relativity. This site's not so bad. We certainly assessed everything on the site like we did for the other 2 service areas, department areas. Brand new salt storage facility. We wouldn't want to mess with that. It's in great condition. No reason to disband that. The rest of the site, not including, again, another communications tower, is kind of a hodgepodge of sheds, old buildings that have kind of gone into disrepair. So salvaging, even on this site, was a challenge. After collecting all that data and interviewing a lot of the folks that work on these at these facilities, we took that information and compiled a brand new space program. We took into account population growth for the city of Reynoldsburg, which was approximately, I think, 2.9% annually, 6.9% over 10 years. That'll be in the packet that you get. And as we go on, another challenge that we had, let's incorporate all the services into one site, and as much as we can, let's not be redundant with the structures that we build. Let's consolidate lockers, conference rooms, anything that we could, reception areas, that type of thing. We found a lot of commonality in the administrative components. Equipment storage is equipment storage. Why build two, one for each? Let's combine those and make it as efficient as we can. We also looked at staffing, the increase in population, as I talked about, for future growth, and took that also into consideration. The numbers that you'll see, the total program square feet is 123,000 and some change. Now, understand that includes surface areas too. So the actual building program structures that you would have to build came in at about 103,000 square feet total, which, like I said, did include future growth. The next exercise we did was to take that program and translate it into physical space. The upper left diagram shows you all those pieces and parts, and they're color-coded as to what they represent on the site. Some of it's conditioned space, some of it's administrative space, some of it's unconditioned space. And we put it on the site at 7806 East Main Street. And as you can see, the program physically fits on the site, but it does not account for any site circulation. We need water retainage, so when it rains, you can't just let the rainwater run off the site. We're going to have to store it somewhere and let it dissipate slowly. Bottom line is it doesn't fit. Everything does not fit on that site if we combine all the service departments. Another challenge is the bottom left you'll see is a topographic representation of the site. We have about a 20-foot rise from east to west. And we're going to have to account for and put the proper circulation in and assign our spaces accordingly. What we were then presented with was the possibility, just to the north of that site, the school district owns a parcel, and it's that kind of a backward C shape, as you see, that runs around and up to and abuts the bottom side of the park to the north. There is a small parcel in the middle that is owned that has, I think it's a landscaping service, it has a little house on it. If we were to sneak into a little less than half, and the numbers are in the printout that you can read, sneak into about half of that parcel to the north, what that would do for us is loosen us up so that we could encapsulate all of the new program requirements that were developed prior to that. Up and down the left side shows another exercise that we wanted to make sure that we kept in mind is the fact that we can't really have any of these service departments shut down, build them new facilities, then have them move in and then start working again. We have to keep everybody working. So another challenge of this was to phase it so that in phase one, and you can see that's the middle diagram on the left, what that does, we come in and build all the administrative components and then supplement that with what we need from water and sewer and parks and recreation. So there could be a phase one to that. What that does is absolutely gets us off of, in its entirety, the property at 1615 Truro. So at that point, the city can decide what they want to do with the vacated location at 1615. So you build phase one, evacuate 1615, move in, you're up and running. All of the administrative components for everybody would be built in phase one. Once that's completed, Then we can come back and develop at a later date and/or when funding's available, the remainder of streets, mechanics, everyone basically gets a new facility except for our existing salt barn. We kept that. We kept the communications tower because it is being used. And we've also introduced, on top of everything else, is a fueling station so that maybe we can combine and be more efficient with the buses, fire trucks, all of the service vehicles. You get to buy gas from yourself, basically. So there's an opportunity to take advantage of locating a fueling system at this location. Throw some numbers at you. On the left side represents the total program. And I'm just going to throw the numbers out. I think it's I can't read it from here, but I remember 17. Yeah, okay. And on the right side is what it would take to do phase one of the project. So you have a total for everything, and then we're showing you how much our probable cost would be to accomplish phase one. The remainder would show up in the total program on the left. I think the remainder of the printed document, this is an appendix, so we did go through it. We've allocated space for all existing vehicles, trailers, equipment, and everything used by each one of the service departments, and added a percentage to make sure we're going to be safe for at least the next 10 years for expansion and growth for the city. We did some calculations on the population. Beyond that, that's it. Thank you for your time. Do you have any questions? That document, I'm going to give it to Molly, and you
Okay.
guys can take this and study some real specifics.
Thank you.
Madam President, members of council, we are in the early stages of finding out the financing aspect of everything. So there are some things that we do have in place that would help to pay for this facility. Later on this week, Director Bauman and Director Dorman, or sometime in the next week to 10 days, will be meeting with the auditor's office to figure out what would be the best course of action all the way across. So that way, eventually, when the time comes, that we'll actually have a full plan presented for you, including timelines and all of that other type of stuff. There's a number of pros and cons to this particular thing, so this is something that we're just kind of reviewing internally as well. So we will have other information, but we felt it was important that you see this as you authorized us to go ahead and get this study done. The safety and well-being of our employees is paramount, plus the rest of it is just the efficiency of everything. There's environmental considerations to concern. There's great partnership opportunities with the school district. We've met with them, for a number of things for their bus garage and improvements to their site. So it would be some sort of shared service agreement. And then obviously he mentioned the fuel pump and things of that nature, which there are, I guess you'd say, things that make it a lot easier, and then there are also some logistical things and financial things that make that a benefit as well. But this is the first step in it, and as we continue to move forward with this, we'll present more information when the time comes to see if this is something that the city is going to be able to do over the next couple of years.
Yes, Councilwoman Strickland.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Mayor, for giving that little overview, and thank you also, Mr. Sam, for coming up and doing your presentation. That was one of the things I was going to ask about, was the timeline when it comes to like phase one. So how long do we think that's going to take if we decide to move this direction? If we're not there, we may not be there yet.
I would say, given ideal circumstances without any issues, which is probably not going to happen, but let's pretend for a minute. I mean, there's a potential that we could move in a direction of getting some engineering done by the end of this year and maybe breaking ground to the phase one sometime, I would assume, in 2023. And then it would be phased out over the next year after that, depending on how things go. So the biggest concern that employees and the directors and I had is what Sam mentioned repeatedly was, we still have to perform city services while all of this is going on. So while it's not going to be perfect, the idea would be that there would be as little or no, difficulties in performing those services while something like this is going on.
Yeah, that's correct. So phase one, the nice thing about phase one, it does get everyone off the Turo site. That includes building the admin side. So the superintendent's offices would be constructed. We would have a locker room. The guys have no locker rooms. We have no female employees. So even though we'd love to have female employees, we have no female restrooms in there. It's just a unisex restroom. But It would be locker rooms for males, females, restrooms, a lunchroom, a conference area, a small conference room too. So it just gets them, a building they can all kind of hang out in. We're all about kind of bringing these departments together too. For many years, it's been viewed as this and this and this, but we're all in this as a one city. I look at it as we're the city. We have different departments within the city, but we all work together. For instance, that snowstorm, we had Parks and Rec guys out plowing. We had Water Department guys out plowing. We all come together when there's something like that. And we do our festivals, the Tomato Festival. It's one of those things. It's good to have everyone like that together in a building. It helps us too with equipment maintenance. As Chief knows, we've been working with them on the parking lot improvements and doing some coverage over the cruisers they have, which is huge. We spend a lot of money on equipment, but it's only as good as we can keep it and maintain it. So that'll be a good step forward, having these buildings where we can keep them inside and heated, the equipment that needs to be heated during the winter, and having a safe mechanics area where they can work on them. Our mechanics work on everything, our entire fleet, from chainsaws to, cruisers, detective vehicles. So it's something that's important that we, have running. The fuel island is a huge benefit. Our officers are stopping at Speedway at 3 in the morning to fuel up. So, if they can go there at night and fuel up, and open the gate and get in there and not have to worry and just go ahead and fuel their cruisers and take off. And it's a lot cheaper. One thing we've talked about, the school's very interested in this too, because they're paying a company to come in every day and fill up the buses. And then they have to have someone come in and wash the buses. This is something, they're right next door to us, so logistically, you probably couldn't ask for a better partnership, being they have the property on both sides of us, and access-wise, we can really make that work, which will help everybody in the long term. So.
Thank you. I know I had an opportunity to go out and visit some of the sites, and one of the biggest things that I heard was, especially in the wintertime, some of our guys really had to warm up their car to go even take care of our streets. To have that, that structure, that facility to make sure that our vehicles are in a heated structure would make a huge of a difference for our people that's out there working getting the ice and the snow plows and everything. So thank you for that.
Absolutely, it does help our response time immensely. The storm recently, the guys, I had them come in around 4 in the morning that day prior to, and we load up all these trucks and bring them inside, because you can't load the salt, you can't have it get wet, and so it definitely helps our response time when we can come in and just be ready to go and have the trucks ready to go. So.
Thank you.
So I assume, since you did talk to the schools, that they're okay with giving up half of their C?
I don't know if giving up isn't necessarily the right terminology. I think partnership would probably be that, there'll be a partnership with the school district to utilize all that space.
We've engaged them and brought them on. Yeah, they've been very favorable, and we're, like I said, especially some of the things that they're having to do right now, which are very cumbersome for them, would be very beneficial. It also would provide them access to a light, because then they could circulate through our site, come out the street, and then get all the buses to come out at the light, as opposed to kind of crossing Main Street like they do now.
Does anyone else have any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any other communications this evening, Molly? Next, we'll move on to our motions. A motion to approve a resolution recognizing Black History Month. Councilmember Baker, would you please read the resolution?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Each year since I've been on council, I've always introduced a resolution honoring Black History Month, because when I first got on council, there was no recollection of the city of Reynoldsburg honoring Black History Month. Now I know the school district does something on their own, but the city itself didn't. So I've always taken it as an honor to introduce this resolution every February for Black History Month, even though Black History is not just a month, but it's, year-round, 365 days a year, and it is part of American history. So I'll go ahead and read this resolution. A resolution honoring Black History Month for February 2022. Whereas during National Black History Month, we celebrate the vast contributions of Black Americans to our nation's history and identity. Whereas the origins of Black History Month dates back to 1915, when Dr. Carter G. Woodson founded the organization known today as the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. And whereas observing Black History Month provides opportunities to gain a deeper understanding of African American history and knowledge the centuries of struggle for equality and freedom. And whereas every year the Association for the Study of African American Life and History sets a theme for Black History Month, and the theme for 2022 is Black Health and Wellness. And whereas this year Black History Month theme explores the legacy of not only Black scholars and medical practitioners in Western medicine, but also other ways of knowing birth workers, doulas, midwives, neuropaths, herbalists. Can't say the word. The 2022 theme considered activities, rituals, and initiatives that Black communities have done to be well, and whereas the city of Reynoldsburg is deeply committed to equality and inclusion, including cultural and racial affirmation of our residents and community members who identified as Black Americans. Be it resolved by council of the city of Reynoldsburg that this council does hereby recognize and declare the month of February 2022 as Black History Month in the city of Reynoldsburg. And I like to add that Black history is a very unique thing, especially here in the United States, because it was something that was created out of bondage, basically, when the first slaves came over in 1614. And so evolving since then, over 400 years of history here in the United States. African history go way back, even further than that, but here in the United States, to see where it started from and where it is now is a remarkable thing. And it keeps on evolving. It keeps on gravitating towards other cultures. There's a lot of cultures here in the United States and throughout the world that has adopted one way or another African American culture and history. And so just to see that, especially from where it started from, is very, very amazing. And so that's all I have. Madam President, is anybody else would like to say anything?
Councilwoman Rossero.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Councilman Baker, for your leadership in offering this resolution. I'd like to share from the Edutopia website, and it's really piggybacks on a lot of what you shared, so forgive me for being redundant. Black history is American history. We infuse Black history into the curriculum year-round. Tom Joyner, the recently retired syndicated radio host, used the phrase Black history 365 days a year to mean that Black history isn't a gimmick meant for 1 month out of the year with a student assembly or a potluck dinner with traditional Black foods. Black history is American history. Students should learn throughout the year and throughout all disciplines about the accomplishments, experiences, and perspectives of Black people. I think we can all agree that we do celebrate Black History Month each and every day. I like to think the month of February, when we highlight Black History Month, it's more like a reunion or a homecoming, when we gather together to celebrate the past, celebrate today, and what is to come in our future. I'd like to invite Ms. Jamie Wilson, Reynoldsburg City School District HR Director, to come forward and offer comments from the school district, please.
I take my mask down, I'm sorry. But good evening, Madam President Jenkins and members of City Council. I am appreciative and accept on behalf of Reynoldsburg City School the resolution, and thank you for the opportunity to share. Just as Councilmember Baker has said and what Ms. Lawson-Rowe has also shared, we feel that the month of February is a time for us to celebrate and honor achievements of Black Americans and the contributions that they've had on our country. We take the time to do different activities in our schools. We do it year-round, but in this particular month, for Black History Month, You'll see written word, spoken word, poetry in schools. We have classroom activities, challenges, trivia, all to recognize leaders, inventors, scientists. We take the opportunity to have performances. We have different selections from our musics, and just a lot of different activities going on in the schools. Most recently, we had Major Taylor's cycling come to Taylor Road, second grade class. He is the first Black American national cyclist, and they came and taught students about cycling. So there's vast and a myriad of activities that happen in our district in the month of February. So if you're able to check out our website, our social media, or come visit a school, you'll probably be able to see some activities that go on specific to Black History Month. So again, thank you for the resolution and the time to speak here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Don't go anywhere, because I want to present you with this year's resolution of Black History Month that the city of Reynoldsburg recognized. And I wanted to thank you for coming up front and speaking to us this evening, okay? So give me 1 second.
Let me hide my mask. It's not very.
Councilwoman Strickland, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Once again, thank you, Councilman Baker, for bringing the resolution this evening. Also, I want to make sure that we recognize our own Black historical council member, our first African-American council member, Mr. Preston Stearns, who served here in Reynoldsburg in 2004. Also, I want to give recognition to the women of Reynoldsburg as being the first 3 African-American women ever elected here in Reynoldsburg, Councilmember Lawson Rowe and also President Jenkins. So thank you both for your service. We have to always continue to tell the story, because we are creating history, to making sure that we are being recognized. So once again, thank you, women, for serving with me. And again, I just wanted to make sure we recognize Mr. Preston Stearns. Thank you.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So move.
May I have a second? Councilmember Pacquiao?
I was going to tell something else.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Baker, for bringing the resolution. I was going to tell, but President, but 2 things I want to bring up here. Myself, coming to this country in 2009, America in my imagination before coming to this country and America after coming to this country is different for me. I'm living that, feeling that every single day. And in 2022, in the United States of America, telling first African American in this position, telling first in that position doesn't sound good. We could have done this thing way earlier. But the good thing and the hope is that we are making progress in that direction. In my opinion, and my own personal experience, we can make change by recognizing the talents of the fellow citizens or fellow African Americans or anybody per se. By focusing on the talent and the strength, we can see for the strength and we can grow together. When I see 1614, I remember about my history. our ancestor went to the country called Bhutan back in 1980. And in 1990, we were forced out of that country by the dictator and forced into refugee camp for 20 years. And when I see 2004, Reynoldsburg made a history by electing a first African American. And 2019, Reynoldsburg make another history by electing first African American as the council president and first woman or majority of the women be elected in the city council. So, I mean, and this, as Council Member Baker mentioned before, not the black history, but it's American history. So I think that we need to continue to recognize this all 365 days or 360 days of the year. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any other further discussion? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have a motion to approve a resolution to designate the city attorney to attend the required training related to public records law and sunshine laws on behalf of City Council. This motion is a housekeeping item. Every 2 years, the Attorney General requires council members to take sunshine law training. Reynoldsburg appoints the city attorney to be the designee for any council members that do not attend the training. Are there any questions or comments from council? May I have a motion to appoint the Attorney Shook as our designee? Councilmember Lawson Rowe, is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Pacquiao, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Next, we have a motion to amend the rules of council. This is a work session to discuss any possible changes to the rules of council. The version in our packet has suggested changes from clerk pressure. Are there any questions or comments from council? This motion will be returned to council for vote at the February 28th meeting. Next, we have reports. Auditor's report. Clerk Pressure, please.
The Auditor's Office submitted the budget by department and classification for the month of December 2021.
Next, we have liquor permits. Chief Baker.
Good evening, Council President, members of council. We have two liquor permits tonight that were investigated. The first was completed for a transfer of a liquor permit held by Ash Ushman LLC that was doing business as a carryout at 1750 Bryce Road. The permit is being transferred to the Kahn Brothers Wholesale and Retail LLC, who will continue operating the carryout business at the same location. Kahn Brothers Wholesale and Retail LLC is owned by Irfan Khan. The liquor permit is for a C1, C2 class, which is for beer, wine, and mixed beverages in sealed containers, sold for carryout only. There have been 26 calls for service related to this location within the past 2 years, but only 4 were resulted in police reports. 2 reports are directly related to criminal activity that occurred in the parking lot, but there have been no police reports generated at this location for the past 6 months. The current liquor permit holder has never been cited for a violation of liquor laws related to this permit. As such, I do not recommend we request a hearing for this permit application from being transferred. The second liquor permit is for a new liquor permit for EG Mart LLC located at 6989 East Main Street. The business will be operated as EG Mart. There are 5 managing members of the business. The liquor permit is also for a C1, C2 class, which is for beer, wine, and mixed beverages in sealed containers sold for carryout only. This will be a new business, so there were no previous calls for service at this location. The Ohio Department of Liquor Control advised our investigator that the office holders have no other active liquor permits, and they know of nothing that would prevent the permit from being issued. Do not recommend that we request a hearing for this permit application either. Any questions?
The store that you mentioned on Bryce Road, where exactly is that located?
That's the standalone carryout next to Century City. It's been before you several times. They seem to change ownership frequently, but that's the standalone. So that is a challenging area for us. We do have criminal activity in that area, so you will have some level of activity at that location.
Oh, okay. Does anyone else have any other questions?
I have a question. The earlier one, the number one, you mentioned that there were 26 criminal activities.
Well, yeah, so every time we are called there, it doesn't necessarily mean a crime has occurred, but there's been some police assistance. So it could be for things like an alarm, traffic stop that occurs in the lot, things of that nature. So what we really look for is police reports that are generated from those calls, and that number was 4. 2 of the most serious ones, I can give you the details if you'd like. We had a call of a person pulling a gun on somebody in the parking lot. We also had a separate incident where there was a drug transaction that a person observed in the parking lot. Again, for 2 years of calls, those are pretty significant and serious calls, but it's not an extremely high number. When you've heard of some other locations on Bryce Road that we've talked about in council, those numbers are a lot higher than this. So I just wanted to bring those to your attention, though, that those have occurred there.
Thank you.
But those are incidents that would not, in and of itself, be cause for us to request a hearing, in my opinion. So that's why we do not recommend a hearing on the license.
Thank you. Next, we have Development, Parks, and Recreation Committee. Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the Development, Park, and Recreation Committee meeting for February 14th, 2022. Members in attendance are Councilmember Cotner, Councilmember Lusserow, Councilmember Pacquiao, myself, and you, Madam President. The first item on the agenda is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with EMH&T for program verification and schematic design for Bryce Park development and appropriating funds therefore and declaring an emergency. Director Bellman, hi.
Hi. Thank you, Chairman Baker. Members of the committee, President Jenkins. This is for the parcel located at 1455 Bryce Road. The parcel is owned by Columbus, the city of Columbus. It will be a joint partnership between the city of Columbus and the city of Reynoldsburg. So what I'm asking for you from here is to authorize EMH&T to do a schematic design and programming so that we can get a better cost estimate on what it's going to cost us to develop this park. Probably in March, we should have some final contracts that are going to be the maintenance agreement and what's the technical word for the other one?
That's a reimbursement agreement.
Reimbursement agreement. So basically, what the gist of it is Columbus is going to reimburse us up to $2 million to go ahead and develop this park. It will be a very, very passive park, so there'll be no soccer fields, no dog parks, none of that. There'll be walking trails, bike trails, bird watching. Excuse me, hopefully we can put in an outdoor classroom, which could be utilized by the library, by Parks and Recreation, a small parking lot. So that's our vision for it, but once EMH&T dives into it, they'll be able to tell us exactly what it is we can program there. So that's what this is asking for. This is phase 1, so we'll be back for another phase on this once we get through this part. And I am asking for the $69,270 to be unencumbered from the American Recovery Plan Fund and then encumbered into account number 206.000.5529. I am also going to ask for emergency passage at the next council meeting so that we can get this moving forward. Right now, the language in the reimbursement contract is 12 months. We are asking for that to be changed once we get back from Columbus, what they're, if they agree to some of the changes that we've submitted, we would know, but we'd like to get this moving a little bit sooner if we could.
Okay. Is there any comments or questions for Councilwoman Lusserow?
Thank you, Chair Baker. I just want to say how excited I am for this park to come, how excited I am for the revitalization of Bryce Road and what's to come. So bring it on.
Absolutely, so are we.
Is there any other? Yes, Madam President.
I don't know if it was mentioned or not, but for clarification, where is this located exactly on Bryce?
It is the storm retention area that Columbus has, so it's kind of across the street from the library and where Alliance Church is going to go.
Right. I knew that, but I just wanted to make sure everyone else knew where it was.
And any other questions or comments from the committee? Any from council? Councilmember Cotner?
Thank you. So going to be reimbursed completely from the city of Columbus, but that agreement's not in place yet. When do we expect that to come into play?
Hopefully, we'll be bringing that to you in March.
Okay. And I guess for clarity purposes, spending money on something that's not our property, I mean, Attorney Shook, you haven't said anything else about it, so I'm assuming we're comfortable with that, but how would that differ from us, say building something for, someone else that's not our property without the agreement already in place?
Yeah, so, we are going to be leasing this property directly from the city of Columbus. Part of our reimbursement agreement requires us in advance to identify the cost of what the improvements will be. We can't do that without the engineering having been done first. So we are giving directives to each EMH&T to keep the costs down, but I think it's 1.5 million or less right now, is that correct?
It's going to probably be closer to that $2 million mark.
Okay. All right. And so we want to be able to present that to Columbus so that they have that at the time when we enter into the reimbursement agreement. I don't perceive any issues right now with the reimbursement agreement. We actually received that from Columbus, and we just sent some suggested changes, nothing that I think would cause any problems with that agreement.
It does say 1.5 in the paperwork that we have.
It does, so I will have to have that corrected.
Okay. And that this 69,000 then will not be part of that reimbursement? This is our money spent on it?
It will be. Engineer and design services will be reimbursable.
It will be reimbursable, okay. All right, thank you.
And then I'll offer more information. I know it gets me in trouble at times, but we will maintain it. The Parks and Recreation Department, we will maintain that area. So we'll do the trash runs, we'll mow the grass. We will not do anything with the stormwater retention. That is still all on Columbus. We will not do anything to hinder them getting to that area, but we'll just do the general maintenance of picking up trash and mowing the grass there.
And that'll all be part of our lease agreement, that was as part of that, you
Correct.
said. And what is the length of that lease?
First time around is 10 years, so renewable every 10 years.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Councilwoman Strickland?
Yes, thank you. Will we have the opportunity to go after any grants or anything to help supplement some of the costs?
That's a great question. I'm thinking since Columbus is paying for it up front, I think if we wanted to go over that $2 million, we probably could. But looking at the time constraints on that could put some restrictions on us being able to complete this in the time frame that Columbus has given us.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. I do want to say that I'm glad that this is coming to fruition. I remember meeting with the city of Columbus over there, and we took a tour of it and the potential that we saw, because it was an ideal that me and council member Bryant had about turning that into a park, because it is an eyesore, and why not just let the land sit there and go basically unused, turn it into something, and seeing the mock-ups and the city of Columbus getting on board, basically paying for the whole thing. It's a win-win situation, not just for the city of Reynoldsburg, but for the residents. And so I just can't wait for it to open, to be truthful. And so, but I'm glad that this is moving forward, because we all know when it comes to government sometimes there's hiccups. And so I'm glad that the city of Columbus is dedicated to this. And I remember the mayor of Columbus had called me up and gave me some encouraging words, and and basically saying that the city of Columbus is looking forward to partnering with us on that, and that's a good start to a good relationship, especially to the 800-pound gorilla in the room, which is Columbus. Heck, their budget is 5 times more than ours. But anyway, I think it's a win-win situation all around, and I really look forward to it. But with that being said, since there's no any other comments or questions, I move that we forward this ordinance on for its first reading. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Lawson Rowe. Any other further discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it, and this ordinance will be moved on to council for its first reading. As there is no, thank you. As there is no further business in front of the Development Park and Recreation Committee, I return it back to you, Madam President.
Thank you. Next, we have Public Safety, Law, and Courts Committee. Councilmember Lawson Rowe, please.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the Public Safety, Laws, and Court Committee for February 14th, 2022. Members in attendance are Councilmember Cotner, Councilmember Pacquiao, myself as Vice Chair, and President Jenkins. Item 1, an ordinance appropriating unencumbered balances as of December 31st, 2021 in various police special revenue funds, providing that revenues for funds received during 2022 be accepted and declaring an emergency. Auditor Sisak will answer any questions regarding this legislation.
I'll go ahead and handle it.
Okay, so I see Chief Baker.
This is an ordinance that comes before you each year. It's related to unencumbered balances from 2021 from certain accounts that we carry the same accounts in 2022, and we ask that you appropriate the funds. These accounts include things like forfeiture, accounts that we receive funds that are allocated through us through the mechanism of the Ohio Revised Code, and a lot of these funds are restricted on what we could use these balances for. We use these funds for items that we don't budget for, or items that we know we can use these funds for that are restricted by the revised code. And so that's why we ask that you make these funds available to us.
Are there any any questions or comments from the committee? From council? I move we forward this ordinance to council for first reading. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Pacquiao. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This ordinance will be forwarded to council for first reading. Item 2, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract between the City of Reynoldsburg and the Fraternal Order of Police, Capital City Lodge Number 9, for the period of January 1, 2022 through December 31st, 2024, and declaring an emergency. Mayor Begney or Director Bauman?
I'll go ahead and take care of this one. Chair Lawson Rowe, Madam President, members of council, pleased to inform you that earlier today, our Reynoldsburg Division of Police Officers did overwhelmingly pass their side of the agreement. The information was presented to you in executive session at our special meeting last month. I'm here to answer any questions for you, but enthusiastic to get this taken care of. I am asking for a 2-read emergency passage on this, mostly to assist in the auditor's office. For every week that we go past is an additional week of back pay and retroactive pay to January 1. So we want to try and help them out as much as we possibly can in that. Otherwise, I'm happy to answer any questions about the contract itself or anything else for this particular item.
Okay, do we have any questions from the committee? From council? Clerk Parasher, does this need to be updated to include the 2-read emergency language?
No, it's set as an emergency.
Okay.
So we're fine.
Thank you. I move we forward this ordinance to council for first reading. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Pacquiao. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This ordinance will be forwarded to council for first reading. Item 3, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract between the City of Reynoldsburg and the Fraternal Order of Police, Ohio Labor Council Incorporated for the dispatchers from January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2024, and declaring an emergency.
Again, Chair Lawson Rowe, Madam President, members of council, very much the same situation. We do have an agreement in principle with the dispatchers, and we hope to have that passed today. This is the second of 2 labor agreements. The first one we just had. We'll have one additional one once everyone's schedules clear up to finish off all of our labor agreements with our law enforcement and auxiliary personnel. Again, happy to answer any questions you have about this particular contract. It is not near as thick as the last one. But any questions you have, happy to answer.
Any questions from the committee? From council? Okay, I move we forward this ordinance to council for a first reading. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Pacquiao. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This ordinance will be forwarded to council for a first reading. As there's no further business for the Public Safety Laws and Courts Committee, I return this meeting to President Jenkins.
Thank you. Next, we have Public Service and Transportation Committee. Councilmember Strickland.
Thank you, Madam President. This is the Public Service and Transportation Committee meeting for February the 14th, 2022. Members in attendance are Councilmember Cotner, Councilmember Lawson Rowe, Councilmember Pacquiao, myself, and President Jenkins. Item number 1, an ordinance to create Chapter 176, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion into the codified ordinance of the City of Reynoldsburg, Ohio. Attorney Shook.
Yes, thank you, Chair Strickland. Thank you, President Jenkins. This is an ordinance that has been brought back into committee. It is scheduled for a third read this evening. I have made some changes to the ordinance that would make it easier for the incoming diversity, equity, and inclusion officer to be able to have more flexibility in their position, and would also make it easier for the city when posting the position to be able to recruit and receive applications from a multitude of backgrounds. Quite frankly, I think we felt like it was important, since this is a new position, not to tie the hands of the person we're bringing in as DEI officer. The focus here is still on increasing the city's involvement with minority and women-owned businesses as vendors for the city, encouraging contractors who bid on city contracts to utilize minority and women-owned businesses as subcontractors, and continuing to work towards expanding the city's recruitment efforts for minority and women candidates, and to increase diversity of the city's workforce. But did want to make some changes that just made it a little bit more streamlined and flexible for the person who ends up taking on that position. So I would ask that the committee amend the ordinance to reflect those changes and then send it on to full council for third read and vote this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Shook. Are there any questions or comments from the committee on the legislation? From council? I move we amend the ordinance to reflect the changes made by Attorney Shook that are included in tonight's council packet. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Lawson Rowe. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This ordinance is amended as recommended. I now need a motion to forward this ordinance, amended ordinance, to council for a third reading and approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Lawson Rowe. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This ordinance will be forwarded to council for a third reading and approval as amended. Item number 2, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept public infrastructure associated with Spring Hill Farm, Section 1. Director Dorman.
Yes, thank you. So it's been a little while, probably since the city's had to go through this process, which it's good that we're doing this now. But anytime a subdivision comes in where there's public infrastructure being constructed, the city, once it's been built and inspected to our standards, we have to go to council to accept that infrastructure. It becomes one of our assets at that point, essentially. That's also a trigger, basically, for the developer to know that their obligation of taking it and maintaining it is over. Now, they are responsible for a 1-year, what we call maintenance bond period. So after 1 year from the date council accepts this, we will go back out and inspect it one more time, make sure there's no damage that's occurred. If so, they're responsible for it at that point. From then on, though, it is the city's sole responsibility to maintain that. That applies to the streets, the street lights, the signs, the sewer, water, handicap ramps at the corner. The sidewalks in front of the properties are obviously, we know, the property owner's responsibility, but everything else that I just discussed would be the city's responsibility. It also then goes to the auditing offices, becomes once again one of our assets. We add that to our infrastructure list. It adds on to how many miles of sewer we have and water and everything else. So basically, MI Homes has submitted all the documentation. They have to submit a performance bond for the items they were unable to complete because of the weather. So they have some street trees they need to install that they weren't able to get to. Some minor concrete work that needs to be done. And then they also supply us with a bond for that 1 year maintenance when we go out and do that one inspection at the end. So this will basically just be for Section 1 of Spring Hill Farms, if anyone's been out there. It is the first, I think it's Oldham Road. It goes around. I think it's Clark that ties into it. Just for reference, Section 1, as we know, they're pretty much building quite a few homes in there right now. They've also constructed Phase 2, and they're about to start Phase 3. So it's moving along pretty good. I'm guessing in their terms, if they're willing to, continue moving on with these sections. So.
Thank you, Director Dorman. Are there any questions from the committee? From council? I move we forward this ordinance to council for a first reading. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Lawson Rowe. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This ordinance will be forwarded to council for a first reading. Item number 3, an ordinance authorizing the appropriations of additional salary funding for overtime for the Streets Department and declaring an emergency. This service department is requesting this ordinance be passed as a 2-read emergency. Director Dorman.
Yes, thank you. So as everyone knows, we had some recent snow events and took a lot of time on our staff's part. We budget overtime every year. We try and be pretty fiscally conservative, I guess, when it comes to that. We typically use the same number every year. Next year, we'll probably look at, maybe this year in the budget, you'll see a little higher item, at least when it comes to this. Just for reference, to give you an example, the event that happened on February 3rd and 4th from 4 a.m. to 3:45 p.m. the next day, we had a total of 370 hours that the guys worked, just plowing. I mean, they're just nonstop. That really hits in the overtime. We call in other departments. But once again, we budget a certain amount. Unfortunately, this year, because of the storms, it's kind of a gamble. Sometimes we don't use it all, half of it, but other years we need to come back and ask for more. So essentially, we're just asking for more funding. We know that we have the Tomato Fest and some other things coming up this year, and we'll have the winter of later this year to deal with, when come November and December. So we just want to make sure we have adequate funds in there.
Thank you, Director Dorman. Are there any questions or comments from the committee? From council? I move we forward this ordinance to council for a first reading. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Pacquiao. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This ordinance will be forwarded to council for a first reading. Item number 4, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Martin Painting and Coating Company to paint city street lights and poles. Director Dorman.
Yes, so last year, the mayor and I, we discussed this, the street lights along Main Street, the burgundy color is not held up so well. It's faded in most areas. As you know, we've talked about this, and throughout the city, we have a kind of a hodgepodge of street light styles and colors. Just last year, we developed a standardized set of drawings for all of our signs and lighting moving forward. So when you develop something in a residential area, it's going to be a certain street light that you're going to see all throughout Reynoldsburg. When you're in more of the commercial areas, it's going to be a different style light. We don't have a whole bunch. Really, those are probably the 2 different options. And also signage, the posts, the way everything looks. once again, it's about giving that sense of place. When you come into the city, as you guys know, or you drive around, you'll see other cities. You really know when you've hit Gahanna, when you've hit Dublin. You can tell just by the infrastructure and the streetscaping, as we call it, that they've put in place. That gives you that, what they call, sense of place. Over the years, like I said, the lighting just it's not held up well. Martin, I've worked with them many times in the past. They're pretty much the only company that does this and does this right. It requires special equipment because they are basically being suspended over the intersection as they scrape these poles and prime them and paint them. They're dealing with different elements. The cabinets are heated, the control cabinets, because they're painting everything from the control cabinet to the poles to everything. They have to have an MOT. We did ask them last year to give us a price. We had money in last year's budget, but we felt it more appropriate to come to council and just present an overall plan to do the entire section of street along Main Street. So,
Thank you, Director Dorman. Are there any questions from the committee? I do have a question for you. So what's going to happen with our older neighborhoods that need some attention? With the, because I'm just thinking Matterhorn is one of the ones that I've been kind of screaming about here. When do we feel like we can really start addressing some of our, older neighborhood and getting that taken care of?
So we're going to look internally about some of those lights. I mean, those lights are smaller in scale. We can do it with our bucket truck, not as heavy traffic on the road. I mean, this contract is for Main Street, so, they're dealing with, the congestion every day. We're going to have some of our guys look at this year. One of my big things this year is fire hydrant painting and street light painting. Some of the street lights are just bare steel. I mean, they're not typically going to be painted, but the ones in the neighborhood where they're green, and sometimes the light is 3 different shades of green, the base is one color, the pole's another, and it drives me nuts as I drive through the city too. It's going to be something we're going to try and look at. The equipment's fairly cheap to buy. You have to buy certain sprayers that are EPA compliant, but you can do a pretty good job. It's just more or less, most of the time comes in the prep work, just making sure it's been scraped and cleaned before you do apply the paint. So we're going to be looking at that this year. Probably, it's typically a good seasonal job. Unfortunately, though, as everyone knows, with COVID, it's been very difficult to find seasonal employees, including Parks and Rec. I know they went through it last year as well. But I think we can put one person probably on, that job on days when, some of the other workload's light. So.
Are we going to be addressing, you said the lighting also, right? As we are repairing the poles, we are going to be getting those LED or...
We should be converting everything to LED. Everything that we order from this point forward has been LED. So everything on Main Street on the new section through the historic area, basically from Davidson down to Wagner, that'll all be LED. Wagner Road will all be LED. Everything we do moving forward will be LED, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from council? Yes, President Jenkins.
I'm sorry, you mentioned the fire hydrants.
Mhm.
Did you, I don't hear you mention, but the curb that's around the fire hydrant on the curb where it's yellow normally?
Yeah.
Are we going to address that? I know that's kind of petty, but it's like one of my pet peeves when I see the fire hydrant and then the chipping of the paint around the curb, especially on my street.
I came from a city where they painted the curbs, and unfortunately, it's one of those things that it requires a lot of labor. I mean, you have to pretty much do it every year, right? It isn't. It's a law. I mean, you're not supposed to be. We always tell people, I mean, painting it's one thing, but in the winter, the paint really, it doesn't show. So it only works during the time when you don't have snow or leaves in the gutter. It's something we can discuss. I know what we typically say is if it becomes a very bad problem where you have people just disregarding that, to let us know. PD obviously can go out there and write tickets, and we can actually put signs up if it becomes a real big issue. The painting just doesn't hold up well, and it can look, as you said, very bad. It'll wear off in a couple years, and sometimes you can go out and power wash it, but it does take a lot of time to go out there and paint those every year, and honestly, it's only as good as someone pays attention to it. So typically, we always tell people, if you're having issues, we get a lot of calls about people with their driveways being blocked or other things. Just, call us. We can address it with code enforcement. We can address it with PD. And then if that becomes a chronic issue, if you have like a neighbor that's doing that, we can use signage. That helps too. So.
You mentioned that this ordinance is for the streetlights on Main.
Correct.
And is it going to remain the same color? Did you mention that? Black, okay.
yeah.
I didn't hear that. Okay.
Everything we're doing now, like for instance, I think David, right at the front here, everything we're doing moving forward has been black. The new Kroger signal, I'm sorry, that's what I'm thinking
Okay.
of. The new signal at Kroger by Right Pat's all black. Everything
Okay.
will be black.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All right, I move we forward this ordinance to council for a first reading. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Lawson Rowe. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This ordinance will be forwarded to council for a first reading. Item number 5, an ordinance authorizing the annual participation in the ODOT Road Salt Purchasing Contract. Director Dorman.
Yes, so this is a cooperative purchasing agreement we do with ODOT every year. It helps us out tremendously. Once again, it's kind of like we were talking about earlier with the fuel. Some of the things that we can do as a city and municipality are very beneficial in pricing. Just for instance, that snow event that we were talking about the other day, we used about 600 tons of salt just in that 24-hour period. Just to give you a little information too, in 2018 and 2019, we were paying $70.41 a ton. The following year, it went up to $80.41 a ton. Last year, it was $64.41 a ton, and this year, it's only $54.39 a ton. So I would love to be able to tell you understand how the salt market works, because you'd think after last year the price would go up because it was a pretty bad winter. But typically what seems to happen is when the winters aren't as bad, the price really seems to go up. So for instance, we were paying, we're talking almost a $30 difference in 3 years. Yeah, and it fluctuates every year. It can be all over the place. But by far, I've done this several different ways, the ODOT pricing is always $5 to $10 less a ton when you're buying salt. So, and they guarantee it, so when we call them, they have to have it within 24 hours on our site, which is great during events like this because there are lots of people competing for salt. If we were to get, storm after storm, you'll see that salt pile at 670, start to go down pretty quick, and those trucks are sitting there waiting. But with this contract, they can get in there and get the salt to us in a very quick manner. So.
Thank you, Director Dorman. Are there any questions from the committee?
Just have a
Yes,
question.
Councilman.
How much salt do we use in average?
On average, so this contract, we can buy up to 1,500 tons of salt with ODOT. We will typically use, for instance, this year, we're probably on pace to go through about 3,000 to 4,000 tons, maybe at the most. I think that's including going through, November and December yet of this year, I would say. On some years, we barely use the 1,500. So what typically will happen is we will fill up the salt barn. So end of winter this year, we will fill it, the barn that we have to the top. And then this coming winter, we'll start to use that, and then we'll use the new contract to fill that up. So we always make sure we're fully stocked at the end of winter for the coming season.
Are there any other questions? Any questions from the council? All right. I move we forward this ordinance to council for a first reading. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Peckrell. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. This ordinance will be forwarded to council for a first reading. As there is no further business for the Public Service and Transportation Committee, I return the meeting back to you, President Jenkins.
Thank you. Next, we have Finance and Administration Committee, Councilmember Sabati.
Thank you, President Jenkins. This is the Finance and Administration Committee meeting for February 14th, 2022. Members in attendance are Councilmember Baker, Councilmember Strickland, myself, and President Jenkins. First item on the agenda is an ordinance authorizing paid family leave for Chapter 160 employees. This legislation is on for a work session today only. I don't know if Mayor Begany has comments on it, but.
Yeah, just a couple of quick comments, Chair Salvati, members of council, Madam President. We had an earlier work session on paid family leave, and so this is the next iteration of it. What we did on our side is trying to mirror to make sure it fits in with the PPM as well as our 160 employees, things of that nature. And we also, the only substantial change is that we had added, in addition to birth as well as adoption, we also added a quality for clause for stillborn to allow for those to grieve in the process that they choose to grieve. We also wanted to make sure that it mirrored and filled in the gaps between the time that FMLA takes effect and where that gap would be, so that way people are covered throughout. Not a lot of municipalities are in the process of doing this right now. I know Franklin County, which I borrowed some of the legislation from them, the Franklin County Services can do this. But it's something that is going to be moving forward in a number of different municipalities. So we are kind of monitoring what everyone is saying and what other communities are putting in. But from our purposes, for paid family leave, we'll be one of the first municipalities to do so. So this is a point for you to take a look at the legislation, see if there's any questions, comments, so we can make any kind of revisions, changes, and things like that as we kind of move through. My intent would be to bring it back for a first read on the 28th of February and then go through the normal 3-read process and making additions, modifications, and tweaks based on your feedback as we get them.
Thank you. I'll make the first comment in that I'm 1,000% in favor of this. It's one of the things that I'm a little bit embarrassed of our country in that we don't have better family leave, paid family leave for these type of things. So my comment is very much in favor, but now I'll open it up for anybody on the committee that has a comment on this to make the comment. Councilman Baker.
I just want to say thank you to the mayor and Attorney Shook for putting in the hard work on this and for bumping it up to 10 weeks, because I know I had suggested that, and I'm glad we were able to do that. If it was up to me, I would say bump it to 20 weeks, but I know we ain't got that kind of cash, so I just want to say thank you.
All right. Any comments or questions from the rest of the council? All right, I'm going to take it from that silence that we can go ahead and bring this legislation back on the 28th for a first read, unless there's any objection to that. All right. That will close that work session. Item 2 on the agenda is an ordinance appropriating unencumbered balances as of December 31st, 2021 for recovery court funds, providing that revenues for funds received during 2022 be accepted and declaring an emergency. Auditor Sisek.
President Jenkins, Chair Salvati, this ordinance and legislation is pretty straightforward. It's unencumbering the balances from last year for our recovery court and encumbering them into 2022 and allowing you to accept the funds for this year. I think it's set for an emergency. I don't know if the city attorney needs it in 3 reads, 2 reads.
No, this can be a 2-read emergency. We do have, I think, a vote on the recovery court agreement with Adam H. tonight, but we still have plenty of funds right now in the recovery court, so it's not an emergency at this point to get it done in 1 read.
3 full reads?
3 full reads would be fine, too. I don't see an issue there.
Okay. So are there any questions for the auditor from the committee on this legislation? Not from the rest of the council? No. All right. Then I'll move we forward this ordinance to council for a first read. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilmember Strickland. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. The ordinance will be forwarded to council for its first reading. Item 3 on the agenda is an ordinance authorizing the increase of appropriations for the various city JED agreements. Auditor Sisek.
President Jenkins and Chair Salvati, this ordinance legislation is also very straightforward. We are increasing the amount of appropriation for our JED agreements 1 through 7 in anticipation of payouts to our partners in the JEDs. So this is JED money, and it won't be paid out until received, and it's not an emergency.
Okay, that's good to hear. Are there any questions or comments for the auditor on this legislation from the committee?
Just real quick, what is the percentage of the increase? You said it's increasing the payout.
These are estimates from the tax administrator. They're all different. It depends on the amount of business that's done in the previous quarter. So we'll find out as that information comes in. So the math hasn't come in yet.
Okay.
We did, on the JEDs, except for perhaps JED 7, had really good fourth quarters as some of these companies are increasing their hiring and getting work done on the job sites. So I would say the fourth quarter bodes very well for the city and our partners on the JED agreements.
Okay, cool. I'd like to hear that.
All right, any comments or questions from the rest of council? All right, seeing none, I will move we forward this ordinance to council for its first read. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilmember Baker. Any final discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, that motion carries, and the ordinance will be forwarded to council for its first read. That concludes the business for the Finance Administration Committee meeting, and I return the meeting to President Jenkins.
Thank you. Next, we have consent agenda for emergency adoption. Items 11, 1 through 3 are part of a consent agenda. These ordinances stand for a first reading unless someone wants to remove an item for further discussion. Council will move forward with a first reading. Would the clerk please read items 11, 1 through 3?
Madam President, there are only 2 items. The third item was meant to be a single read emergency, but staff pushed it back to a
Okay.
second read, so that will be removed. It'll just be 1 and 2.
Thank you.
Item 1, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with the Solid Waste Authority of Central Ohio, Oswego, to accept a community waste reduction grant and declaring an emergency. 2, an ordinance authorizing the city attorney and mayor to enter into a grant agreement with the Alcohol, Drug, Mental Health Board of Franklin County for continued operation of the Reynoldsburg Recovery Court and declaring an emergency.
May I have a motion to approve these ordinances 11, 1, and 2?
Motion.
Councilmember Baker, may I have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Pacquiao, will the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Pacquiao?
Yes.
Councilmember Lawson Rowe?
Aye.
Councilmember Cotner?
Aye.
Councilmember Baker?
Aye.
Councilmember Strickland?
Aye.
And Councilmember Salvati.
Aye.
Madam President, that was 6-0.
These ordinances are approved with 6 affirmative votes and no negative votes. Next, we have a consent agenda for a first reading. Items 12, 11, items 12, 1, and 3 through 11 are part of a consent agenda. These ordinances stand for a first reading. Unless someone wants to remove an item for further discussion, council will move forward with a first reading. Would the clerk please read items 12, 1, and 3 through 11?
1, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with EMH&T for program verifications and schematic design for Bryce Park development, appropriating funds therefore, and declaring an emergency. 3, an ordinance appropriating unencumbered balances as of December 31st, 2021 in various police special revenue funds, providing that revenue for funds received during 2022 be accepted and declaring an emergency. 4, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract between the City of Reynoldsburg and Fraternal Order of Police, Capital City Lodge Number 9, for the period of January 1, 2022 through December 31, 2024, declaring an emergency. 5, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract between the City of Reynoldsburg and the Fraternal Order of Police, Ohio Labor Council, Inc., dispatchers from January 1, 2022 through December 31, 2024, declaring an emergency. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept public infrastructure associated with Spring Hill Farm, Section 1. 7, an ordinance authorizing the appropriation of additional salary funding for overtime for the Streets Department and declaring an emergency. 8, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Martin Painting and Coating Company to paint city street light poles. Number 9, an ordinance authorizing the annual participation in the ODOT road salt purchasing contract. 10, an ordinance appropriating unencumbered balances as of December 31st, 2021 for recovery courts, providing that revenues for funds received during 2022 be accepted and declaring an emergency. 11, an ordinance authorizing the increase of appropriations for the various city JED agreements.
These ordinances stand for a first reading. Item 13, consent agenda for a second reading. Items 13, 1 through 4 are part of a consent agenda. These ordinances stand for a second reading. Unless someone wants to remove an item for further discussion, council will move forward with a second reading. Would the clerk please read items 13, 1 through 4?
1, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with EMH&T to conduct surveying, design, engineering, and bidding services for the city's 2022 water main replacement and appropriating funds therefor. 2, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with EMH&T for the 2022 sewer project with EMH&T for engineering services, prepare construction plans, specifications, and bid documents, and appropriate funds therefor. 3, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a contract with OHM for planning services design for a East Main Street corridor study. And 4, an ordinance to authorize the purchase of 2,000 MXU readers from Census for the upgrade program and waive competitive bidding.
These ordinances stand for a second reading. Next, we have a consent agenda for a third reading. Items 14, 1 through 3 are part of a consent agenda. These ordinances stand for a third reading and approval. Unless someone wants to remove an item for further discussion, council will move forward with a vote on these ordinances. Will the
Excuse
clerk-
me, Madam President.
Yes.
May we remove item 2 from consent? And I'd like to speak to that, please.
Which one? 2?
Yes.
Okay, so we're voting on items 14, 1 and 3. Would the clerk please read items 14, 1 and 3?
1, an ordinance to amend Chapter 1701, Board of Nuisance Abatement of the Codified Ordinances of the City of Reynoldsburg. 3, an ordinance to appropriate funds from the unappropriated general fund to miscellaneous other services, Mayor's Department, for charitable distribution.
May I have a motion to approve these ordinances?
So moved.
Councilmember Baker, may I have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Pacquiao, would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Pacquiao?
Aye.
Councilmember Lawson Rowe?
Aye.
Councilmember Cotner? Councilmember Baker?
Aye.
Councilmember Strickland?
Aye.
And Councilmember Salvati.
Aye.
Madam President, that was 6-0.
These ordinances are approved with 6 affirmative votes and no negative votes. Would the clerk please read item 14, number 2?
An ordinance to create Chapter 176, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion into the codified ordinances of the City of Reynoldsburg, Ohio.
Councilmember Lawson Rowe?
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to take this point of personal privilege to thank Councilwoman Strickland for your leadership with this legislation. I celebrate our community for being intentional in creating a fair society that brings people, ideas, and perspectives together to create a stronger Reynoldsburg. It is important our diverse neighbors see themselves in government services, government employees, and city contracts. When decision makers come from various backgrounds, various perspectives are shared for one common goal. Having said that, I strongly support this legislation. Thank you.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve this ordinance?
So move.
Councilmember Strickland, may I have a second?
Second.
Councilmember Lawson Rowe, would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Pacquiao?
Aye.
Councilmember Lawson Rowe?
Aye.
Councilmember Cotner?
Aye.
Councilmember Baker?
Aye.
Councilmember Strickland?
Aye.
Councilmember Salvati.
Aye.
Madam President, that vote was 6-0.
This ordinance is approved, 6 affirmative votes and no negative votes. Next, we have other council matters. Mayor Begany has provided council with an update on the status of some of the goals and objectives of council set during our retreat. Next, we have the Franklin County Health Department has asked the city to implement another citywide mask mandate, and that was submitted, I don't know, maybe a couple of weeks ago or longer. We kind of held back on that, but we can certainly discuss it. I think at this time the numbers are down, and I don't know that we really need it right now unless the numbers go back up, but I welcome any other council members' feelings or discussion on this topic.
So on the mask mandate thing, in my opinion, I think it should be individual choice rather than mandating us. I'm not in favor of mandating masks anymore.
Do we have any other comments? Does anyone on council have any other further items that you would like to discuss this evening? Councilwoman Strickland?
Thank you, President Jenkins. Real quick, I want to make sure that our constituents know that every second and fourth Wednesday of the month, from 6 to 7, I will be here having 2022 office hours. So anyone is actually welcome just to talk about what's going on with the city, or if you have any questions. This is another opportunity for myself and other council members can surely join me for our constituents to have a voice and be able to come and talk to me about what's going on. So again, every second and fourth Wednesday of the month from 6 to 7, I will be here at City Hall.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any other comments on council? Councilmember Baker?
I missed it last council because I was under the weather. But I do want to say thank you to those in law enforcement, those who's in the logistic company, those who are nurses or doctor who are still fighting through this pandemic with us, and every day they should be thanked for what they do. So, thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to also mention that I've been working with Franklin County Health Department. I'm working with COVID response, and if anyone needs any information regarding vaccinations or any other information, we meet regularly. It's through Zoom, but I have a lot of information regarding COVID and COVID vaccinations or boosters or anything like that, or even masks. We were given masks for a Martin Luther King celebration that we have not had to use, and so we have an abundance of masks. So if you want to reach out to anyone on council, we can also distribute masks that we have been given. Next, we have scheduled upcoming council meeting, BZBA, and Planning Commission meetings. The next council meeting is scheduled for Monday, February the 28th, beginning at 6:30. The time is now 8:20, and unless there's no additional business, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.